Take a look at this image. At first glance, many of you will see what appears to be a woman sitting in front of a vanity doing her morning routine. But if you squint ever so slightly, you will see that the woman gives the illusion of a skull. Just like this picture, the stories you'll hear in this video can appear one way, but if you look closer, you will see a completely different picture. When listening to these stories, see if you can distinguish between which are fact and which are fiction. At the end of this video, you'll find out which of these stories are legit and which are just legends. There are all kinds of movie genres today. Drama, comedy, action, horror, the list goes on and on. Some horror movies take inspiration from real-life events, but what happens when real-life events take inspiration from the movies? Today's stories will test to see if you can determine which are real and which I simply made up.
Five years after the release of Halloween, a young man sat down to watch Rob Zombie's remake when he questioned the unthinkable. Could he kill his family the same as the fictional Michael Myers? Blake became enamored by the opening scene where 10-year-old Michael Myers commits such a violent act while seemingly showing no remorse for his heinous actions. He wondered if he himself would share the same lack of emotions and set out to test this theory. After some deliberation about it, Blake retrieved a kitchen knife similar to Myers but ended up changing his mind as he deemed it to be too painful. Blake wanted it to be more swift, so he stole a firearm from his grandfather to use instead. He targeted his younger sister first and attacked her multiple times. He then found his mother in another room and attacked her as well. As he emptied the firearm in his room, he could hear groans coming from his sister's room. He then apologized to his sister and attacked her one final time, after which he called 911 and confessed to the horrific crime. While the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was marketed as being inspired by true events, in actuality it is only loosely based on the crimes of Ed Gein. However, the movie and its sequels would go on to spawn some gruesome murders of their own. In 1997, a couple living in Oklahoma had watched the original movie when they decided to reenact the movie themselves. Joe and Pamela began picking up local drifters and invited them home for a meal and a place to sleep for the night. Once Pamela would make them feel comfortable and at home, Joe would bludgeon them with a mallet just like in the movie. The couple managed to dispatch of 6 drifters over the course of a year until they were caught when attempting to pick up another potential victim. A police officer passing by recognized the couple as known drug users and believed it to be a deal, so the officer tailed the couple and initiated a traffic stop. Upon searching the vehicle, the officer found multiple IDs under one of the seats. The officer checked the IDs and found that 2 of them came back to reported missing persons. Joe and Pamela were arrested and later told police that they were chosen to carry on Leatherface's legacy by ridding the world of homeless people and drifters. Joe and Pamela would later be sentenced to separate psychiatric hospitals for their crimes. In December of 1999, a college student committed a gory crime. The student had become paranoid with the upcoming turn of the millennium bringing the apocalypse, also known as Y2K. For months he had been warning his peers on campus of their oncoming doom, but no one heeded his pleas. He became known as the nut job or the conspiracy theorist, and even openly mocked and ridiculed by his fellow classmates. That would all change after he watched Scream 1 and 2. He entered the school's library and made his way to the computer station. With a baseball bat in hand, he began destroying the school's computers. Those sitting in the vicinity were shocked at the sudden event and backed away from their enraged classmate. Campus security arrived and ordered the students to drop the bat, which he did. But as the security officer approached to detain him, he pulled out a concealed knife similar to that used by Ghostface and began stabbing the officer. He then attacked a few more students that didn't hear the commotion before being taken down by the campus police. The security officer and another student were taken to the hospital in critical condition, while the other students sustained more minor injuries. In 1980, a single mother did the unthinkable. After watching a televised version of William Friedkin's The Exorcist, Anne claimed to have heard voices telling her to take her child's life. Anne had previously suffered from mental health disorders and was institutionalized years prior. She said that her 4-year-old had been possessed by demons and it was up to her to save the world. She claimed to have seen grass growing out of the child's chest and was ordered to cut it out. The mother's trial lasted over a year, which resulted in the jury finding her not guilty by reason of insanity. She was sent to a local hospital and later released to her mother's care. Some say she was batshit crazy, while others believe she was of sound mind and wanted to be rid of her child. Whatever the case is, She is currently a free person to this day.
After hearing these stories, how confident are you in what's true and what's false? Do these stories sound too crazy to be true, or is the truth just stranger than fiction? Let's take a look at our first story based on the Halloween remake. If you thought it was true, then you guessed right. This event happened in Aledo, Texas back in 2012. How about the story based on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? True? Sorry, this one's just a tall tale. Could the story about the Y2K panic leading to a Scream-like crime truly happen? It's possible, but not for this made-up story. What about The Exorcist? Surely such an event is made up. If that's what you guessed, I regret to tell you that you guessed wrong. This event happened back in February of 1980 in Wichita Falls, Texas. Were you able to guess which of these stories were true and which were false? Let me know in the comments down below. If this series interests you, then please hit the subscribe button for future videos to test your mind coming soon. Feel free to share this video with your friends to see if they too can determine which of these stories are legit and which are just legends. I'm Mr. Reed.